What's up, everybody? My movie Left It Wall is out now, and we got some screenings coming up in 2024. February 22nd, Tucson, Arizona. February 29th, Omaha, Nebraska. March 20th, Washington, D.C., and that is a free screening. So Washington, D.C., be sure to check out the movie. And March 22nd, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we're doing a stand-up show, a screening, and a Q&A after, so we'll physically be present at that one. Get tickets now at robplacone.com. I'll also be announcing more 2024 tour dates with both screenings, shows, screenings and shows. You get the idea. But for now, Tucson, Omaha, Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh. You can get tickets right now at romplacone.com. See you in 2024. Episode 13. Todd Hibbeler. Ever wonder how to have a career in the Renaissance Faire circuit? Ever been through a rough breakup? That second thing is probably more universal than the first. Todd Hibbeler is a Renaissance Faire professional. He's crafted an amazing career for himself, from a performer to a franchise food vendor. And it all started with a broken toilet. Funny story, we get into it. I do a show where I'm Lucian the Satirist. It's meant for Renaissance Fairs. Todd was a big influence on my decision to launch that project. Also, Todd's a good friend of mine, and he helped me through the toughest breakup I've ever had. Please welcome to the show, Todd Hibbeler. So, Todd Hibbeler, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, what is the Renaissance Festival? For people who might not know, in your words, what is the Renaissance Festival? Why is it a special thing?
So, it's like centered around a tournament, a jousting tournament. It's a reenactment of a sporting event, a jousting sporting event that all these like artisans and entertainers would come, and it's in preparation for the king or queen, whoever is in charge, in the monarchy at the time. So different Renaissance fairs are different points in history, where different kings and queens came to town for a jousting tournament. And so like, that's why you have artisans at these things like that do like handcraft goods, and you have like entertainers that juggle and, tell jokes and stuff. And then there's what we do, which is feed people. So it's a celebration. It's a celebration of a celebration. So they're celebrating that they're out of this dark time. They're celebrating like life was so shitty for so long, and then now all of a sudden you can go outside again and not wear a mask. And you can hang out with your friends and drink and be merry and look at people and laugh at things. So it's a celebration of a celebration. It's a reenactment of a celebration of a celebration.
I mean, that's a really good pitch, dude. I feel like anyone who's on the fence is going to be sold now.
But so what it really is, though, like if you were to just go and not know the history of it, is it's like this beautiful social experiment of all these like micronisms of like subgroups. There's like everything from like juggalos to furries to D&D people to like cosplay people to like everything. Like every little organism of nerddom gets together, and then like they have like a common ground, which is this time period.
Yeah, I mean, music nerds, history nerds, comedy nerds, like
exactly. It's like everything. So like it's all these different subcultures. That's the word I was looking for. Subcultures get together and form a group. And it's a place where people can like let their freak flags fly and be weirdos and not be judged.
So yeah. So before you like got involved with this, which we're gonna dive into here in a second, but I'm curious, before we go there, did you attend a Renaissance Fair first before you started working them? Like, what was your personal history? Like, did you go as a kid? Like,
no, I never went as a kid. I met these dudes doing stand up that also toured around the country doing Renaissance fairs, like comedy shows and open mics and stuff. And they were like, you should come with us. You'd be perfect. And I was like, guys, I don't know what the hell a Renaissance Fair is. And so they were like, here's a couple tickets. You should come check it out. And like, I went and I was blown away. It was the craziest, weirdest thing I was like, what is this place? It's so bizarre. It's like, I was blown away the first time I went. I was like 27 years old.
And you didn't even know, you didn't even know what one was. It wasn't
I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
I had no idea.
Know it existed.
Right. And I had like been to Comic-Cons and stuff and like dipped my toe into nerddom, like before then. And like, I've always played video games and like, I got a lot of the references and I understood everything that was happening around me. I never went as hard as playing like D&D or anything, but like, I immediately got what this was. And it's a celebration in a safe place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just really cool that you not only did you attend it for the first time and you're like, this is a thing that exists, but also you were like, I can do this and I want to do it.
Right. I am the next day I started selling my shit and I like set my life up so I could drive across the country and do it. And my first job was I was getting tomatoes thrown at my face while I was making fun of people. So I was like I was doing comedy, like, as people were like, I was the guy in the stocks, people were throwing tomatoes at me and stuff.
So that's where you started, and we're going to go through the entire history. But before I had to ask you this. You have told me this story off mic, and if you don't want to share it, it's okay. But I'm kind of hoping you will. You'll tell it again because it's seriously like one of my favorite stories in the world. And I believe, if memory serves me right, I could be misremembering. It had to do with an incident on one New Year's Eve. And you told me that was basically the situation that kind of pushed you into, I'm definitely doing this. And you sold all your stuff and left your apartment in Scottsdale, Arizona, and joined the Ren Fair. Do you remember what I'm talking about? And is it cool if we share that story? Because I love it.
Does it have to do with whiskey?
It has to do with a toilet. And
okay. I was dating a girl. Okay, yes. I was dating. Yeah, this is a great story. I was dating a girl at the time, and it was like a New Year's Eve, and we had gone out, and like I was like hanging out with all of her friends, and I didn't really know very many people, and so I like drank too much. And is this the story you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So I woke up in the middle of the night because I had to go to the bathroom. And so I like woke up and I went to use the restroom. And like when you're like super drunk and you don't want to like stand to pee, you like sit down. So like I was like too drunk to stand and pee. So I was like, I'm gonna sit down, and I sat down too hard. And I fell through her porcelain toilet. And she lived on the 3rd-story apartment, and water just started like spraying. And I was like, no, like this is like how I woke up. You know what I mean? By like toilet water in my face. And so I'm like trying to stop it. And there was no like shut off valve to her toilet to like turn the water off. So she's like, just turn the water off. And I was like, I don't see where you do that. And water was just going, like hundreds of gallons of water just to her ceiling, back down on the ground. And so like I ruined her apartment and the apartment below hers and the apartment below hers and the 2 apartments that were next to hers because she lived in the middle. And so this New Year's Eve at like 3 a.m, and like she's like, let me call the maintenance guy. Guess what? Maintenance guy doesn't answer at 3 a.m. on New Year's Day. Like water and water and water. So yeah, like we broke up.
So I feel, I mean, that story, I feel bad because the first time you told me this story, just as a disclaimer out there, everybody, the first time you told me that story, you didn't mention exactly how destructive it was.
Oh,
so all right. So I didn't know that part. I don't want people to think I'm laughing at the people who got their apartments destroyed, because of course I'm not.
There
But
was an
like,
insurance thing. She didn't have to pay a dime. Like everybody got hooked up, and
all right, right.
yeah, it was an old apartment complex. It was like people got a remodel of their apartment. Sure they were inconvenienced for like a little bit, but yeah,
Okay.
it
So
was
everyone was, no one got hurt. Everyone
no
was
one got
okay in
hurt.
the end. Okay. And everyone was made whole and everyone was good. Yeah.
Right,
I didn't realize it was that destructive. I mean, the story's still freaking hysterical, especially when you told me the first time.
right.
The way you told me, you just looked at her and you said, so we're probably done, right? And she was like, yeah. And you just laughed.
I Chris Farleyed her toilet. Like, yeah, man.
And then you're like, I'm joining the Renaissance Fair.
Right. I was like, I should probably lay low for a little bit.
I gotta get out of Scottsdale.
Yeah. I should skip town.
That's an amazing story. I thought you just like flooded her bathroom. I didn't realize multiple apartments were in the trail of destruction. But
I should pee in the woods for a little while.
There you go. Yeah, you're just like, I shouldn't even have like a 4 walls. I should just live in an RV and pee in the woods to prevent this from happening again. If I do this in a porta potty, the only person inconvenienced is me. Right.
That's funny. I forgot about that story.
I'll be honest, dude. I've told that story to multiple people, especially when I started doing Lucian. Because, people were like, and Lucian is still very new. But when I tell people about it and that, like I'm really trying to bring it to fairs and make it this new show that I do and blah, 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 they're kind of like, well, like, do you have experience with Renaissance festivals? And I'm like, well, I went I went as a kid. I started going in middle school, but I bring up, I'm like, my buddy Todd, my comedy buddy Todd got into Renaissance fairs, and they're like, how did he get into it? And I'm like, oh, this story's epic. He met some people. But it really came to fruition one fateful New Year's Eve.
That's so funny.
I love that story, dude. I love that story so much. But you have built an amazing career. So let's give everybody kind of like a quick timeline of your history with the fairs. You started out getting the tomatoes in the face, where you got it's commonly referred to as vegetable justice, right?
Right, correct. Yeah. So I did that for like a year, and then some guy saw how funny that I was being and whatever, and he needed a show partner. And so for like 12 years, I did this thing called the Mud Show, where another guy and I would tell jokes and jump into a pit of mud and splash people, and we would jump from like 12 feet in the air into a pit of mud. On our backs, and it was like a whole Gallagher thing, but with mud instead of watermelon.
I dare say it's a little more. There's a little more depth to it than Gallagher. I'm not trying.
I stepped into that job. I've been like the 4th generation of Mud Show people. So like we are a Mud Show. We're not the Mud Show. There's a guy that has been traveling around since the early 70s, and he's been doing the Mud Show since like the beginning of Renaissance fairs, and he still does it at a couple of different fairs.
Because I'm just saying, like, I've seen some mud. I've not seen yours. I wish I had, but like I've seen some mud shows, and it's actually. They're not just like playing in mud for the damn hell of it. Like they have a show written out. It is a thing, and it's quite impressive.
Right. So yeah, our gimmick, if you will, is we would do like fairy tales, like funny fairy tales, like our take on fairy tales, and then it would end with us splashing people in the mud. And not every Mud Show is like a splash thing. It's but ours was definitely splash heavy.
So you started doing that.
Yeah, I did that for 12 years. Mm-hmm. And then meanwhile...
And when you say did it, you went all over the place. I mean, just to give people who don't really know much about this circuit, like you went, like, where all did you go?
Yeah, so I did the Tampa, the Bay Area Renaissance Fair. Then I would do the Georgia Renaissance Fair. Then I would do the Kentucky Renaissance Fair. Then I would do the Renaissance Fair in Canada outside of Toronto for a couple of years. I did that. Then I did the Michigan Renaissance Fair. And then when I wasn't doing the Mud Show, I was working for a joust company called the Jousters, and I would sell little flags on a stick for people that were waiting to see the joust. Like I was the comic relief, the kind of like the when you go to like a game show, like the warm up guy.
Yeah.
Like I was like a warm up guy for the joust.
And weren't you technically a squire? Isn't that?
I'd squired for the joust a couple times, but the pennant job was where the real money is.
Oh, okay. Why is that, dude?
That's like I was able to entertain. I got to like that was a really cool job because I got to like literally talk to every single person that paid for a ticket to come to the fair today. You know what I mean? Like because everybody watches the joust. Everybody at least watches one joust. So I got to like talk to every single person, and it like gave me like this is gonna sound weird, but it gave me like a small amount of fame in like the places that I would do it, you know, because I would talk to so many people. Like I'd get recognized at the grocery store or a bar or something. And,
that's so cool. Yeah, because I mean you're in the town for sometimes like up to like 6 to 8 weeks, right? So it's like you're kind of. I mean, you get a routine inevitably.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I had like a solid, like, you know, 15, 20 minutes of stuff that I would like a Rolodex through if, you know, things were going. It was, I was basically doing stand up for the joust.
Right. But I mean, like when you're in a place for so long, it's like you have, I meant like a daily routine, like, I'm going to go to this grocery store and I'm going to go. So you would like see people that attended those fairs and they were like, you're the pennant guy.
You're the guy. Yeah. I would go by the name Tuggy von Schmeckel, which Schmeckel means tiny penis in Yiddish.
Yeah. So, that's awesome.
That was my Mud Show name and my pennant selling guy's name.
Did you ever get any complaints?
Not a single person for like 12 years. Yeah, not a single time. Which is amazing.
There'd be like somebody, somebody who's like, my kids are here, but no. Well, they make it clear the Mud Show is not necessarily like parental guidance suggested, right?
Right. Yeah. There's like ratings on the shows or whatever, but it's quite the opposite. Like people the most they ever got recognized was in Florida, where there's a large population of Jewish people, right? But they would like feel seen when they would see that. They'd go,
nice. Yeah.
You know, like it was like cool. You don't see a lot of Yiddish here being represented at the Renaissance Fair.
Good for you, man. That's I didn't know that was your stage name, but
Tuggy von Schmeckel. I would go. People would go, "Hey, what's your name?" I'd be like, "I'm Tuggy von Schmeckel of the Singing von Schmeckel people. My real name is Todd, and I work at Sprint." Like that's what I would say every time somebody would ask me.
So that's amazing that for years you had a stage name that basically means I'm playing with my dick.
Right.
And then you moved into serving people food.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't realize that's the So while I was doing the pennant thing, I met my wife on Tinder at the Carolina Renaissance Fair, and she was a chef. And she got on the road with me, and we opened up Von Schmeckel's Hot Doggery, which was a hot dog business that would be right next to the Mud Show. And so, I would go, "Hey, I'm Tuggy Von Schmeckel, and here's my hot doggery," and like my wife would like wave, like, "Hi." So we did that right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic shut us down. We lost our business that we were just starting. But we've come back super strong, and now we have a food truck that we tow around the country, and my wife and I have a pretty successful food endeavor happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to get like too much into your personal life, but I'm a little curious. Like how? So you started dating this girl.
Mm-hmm.
How did you convince her? Like, hey, you know where you can really flex your culinary muscles is the Renaissance Fairs. Like, was she already into it, or like that seems maybe a tough sell?
Well, it was definitely a tough sell. Like it's it's not that easy. Like a lot of these fairs, they don't allow food in. So I didn't know what she was going to do. She just knew that she didn't want to be doing what she was doing, the daily grind of working for somebody else, like having a terrible schedule, and so she was just tired of it. So it
So
was a
she wanted to
temporary,
like ditch the 9 to 5,
right.
and
So
you're
it was
like, well, I got a
a,
thing.
right. It was definitely like a temporary thing, for a while. And then she saw, like an opportunity to do a thing where she could be her own boss. And so we together formulated a plan and did it, you know.
So how does that work? Because it's like it's a much different ball game when it's like you're going to be a vendor versus like an entertainer. So
Oh yeah.
how did you kind of make how did you kind of make that transition? Was it just you had known so many people at that point, you were able to like kind of get some guidance, or like how did that like materialize for you?
So I think that like the short answer is the food speaks for itself, but there's like we're like a community that travels around the country together. So there's a lot of like community events and things that we do just as a community, so everybody knows each other and loves each other and respects each other. So we would get together and we would always offer to cook for these things. So my wife and I would we would do like a Taco Tuesday night and invite everybody over, and then, we would do like the chili thing or whatever. So like people started paying attention to Jess and her cooking, and everybody was super amazed. And she got other gigs from it. And we would, we really grew our business just like in our community, never with the goal of like trying to get rich off of our community, but like definitely the, like, the, if everybody does what they're good at, like that's how you become successful. So like, it was like a no-brainer when people found out that we got a couple of food booths in places. They were like, yeah, that makes sense. Our food's really good. So like, so yeah, I mean, she's like worked her ass off and cultivated this thing and is constantly researching and trying to better. And, we're like, we do a lot of research.
So do you are you still doing any stage stuff, or are you exclusively with the food?
Right now, yeah, right now we are just doing food. I'm not like opposed to doing something later, but right now we're like pretty concentrated on just doing this food thing. We're like, so that's an interesting question. So like we're trying to like break into combining the two. So we have this business called Dragon's Breath Creme Brulee, and it's this big dragon head that we had made out of latex and some other stuff, and it breathes smoke, right? It's like a fog machine housed around this big dragon head. And we have this little puppet that is housed around a food grade torch. And so the dragon handler, the person that's working in the booth, is doing creme brulee demos with this torch, right? And then telling a story about what they're seeing. Like this magical, sugar is being put on, the top of your custard, and then you're torching the bejesus out of it. And then you get a little spoon that has like a crystal on the top of it. And that crystal is the only thing that can break the dragon's curse. So there's like a level of performance in the story. You know what I mean? I just gave you
cool
the rough version of it, but like, yeah, I mean, we have somebody right now at the Fort Lauderdale Renaissance Fair working that booth for us, and she wants to be an entertainer. So she's like, that's like a wonderful opportunity for you to like, tell a different story every time and like to a different target audience, and you can change the story, but it's like a story with food, and it's something tangible you can walk away with.
That is so cool, man. So are you basically the sous chef for your wife? Like, are you?
Ooh, that's a good question too. I am kind of like the jack of all trades. Like when things go wrong, when fires need to be put out, not real fires, but like figurative fires,
Oh, it could be a real fire, right?
Could be a real fire. Yeah, like I'm like a plumber, electrician, self-taught. I'm doing. Like I build stuff. I can get behind the make station and start making tacos or whatever we're doing at the time. Like I kind of know a little bit about everything, so I can run it. basically.
Did you have any culinary experience before, or did she kind of teach you?
I was the assistant manager at a Cold Stone Creamery.
That counts. Yeah. I mean, it's not direct, but it's like, I mean, I think it counts kind of.
Yeah. I mean, that's about it. That's about making ice cream is about all I knew how to do.
Do you like cooking more now, or
Oh,
have you always liked it?
yeah, I've always enjoyed cooking. I think that, and I'm constantly learning, just like my wife is. Like I'm trying to keep up. Like she's an incredible chef, but yeah, I'm like I learn stuff. I learn different tricks and techniques, and I can hold my own in the kitchen. I kind of know what I'm doing, but she's the talent for sure.
No, I love cooking. I think like in a different life, chef would have been something I would have considered, like I
Cool.
love, I mean, I respect it so much. Like people that are just, I consider like chefs, it's like they're culinary poets. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's like they are just making art through food. And there's so many different ways to do it, so many different things one can specialize in. And I'm the kind of guy as a consumer, like I can appreciate everything from, like a hoity-toity meal in a fancy part of town down to like just a greasy spoon, like I appreciate it all. And yeah, so I always, yeah, like the life of a chef is very, very intriguing to me. Like
For
it's
sure.
very, and
Do you have like a preference? Like I know you have this spectrum of things you like with the hoity-toities to greasy spoon, but do you have like when you're looking for a restaurant, what are you seeking out? Like what's your like thing that you're doing?
oh man, that's such a broad question. Like it depends on what I'm well, I'll say this. Like I'm Italian American. So
Okay.
that's like that kind of world is what I think I know the best. And for me, sometimes when I go to like a solid Italian restaurant, I prefer quality and heartiness over like just like a fancy look or something like that.
Interesting.
Like when
Yeah.
I walk into a place and it's just like, oh yeah, it costs $25 and there's actually only 3 rigatonis on this dish, but it looks really picturesque.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of that. And obviously
Right.
that stuff is very prominent in a place like Los Angeles.
Right.
But,
Right. Right.
when I go to a place and I live in the San Pedro neighborhood in Los Angeles, which is also like the Little Italy part of town. So it's like we got places where if you're like, hey, Ron, I'm in your neighborhood. I want to go out for Italian. I'm going to say, well, what exactly are you looking for? Because
Right.
if you're looking for pizza, this is where I go. If you're looking for like a Southern style Calabrese meal, this is where I like to go. If you're looking for like a more like neo Tuscan style, this is where I like to go. And they're all freaking great. And they're
Yeah.
all different. If you're looking for more of like an Italian pub grub atmosphere, this is where I like to go. So it's like take your pick because we got options depending on what exactly you're looking for. And and I like that because I like all those things I mentioned. I like all those things.
Right.
So to me it's just like, I mean, I know it's like such a cliche and I don't like using it, but sometimes I feel like good food is a lot like good music. Some of the best stuff is the stuff you might not get right away. And
Yeah.
there's really only 2 genres, good and bad. There's good music,
Yeah.
bad music. There's good food and bad food,
Yeah. You like the B-sides.
I like the B-sides. I like the B-sides, but I like comfort food too in both scenarios. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool. Like you have been able to flex all of these different muscles within this job. Like this like crazy unique job that you made yourself that all started with you collapsing a toilet.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere, baby. No, I mean, you could have said you started getting tomatoes thrown at your face. Yeah, you made that decision.
So I want to transition into something a little more on the nose here. You First of all, is the last time we saw each other in person, was it in Tampa? Was that the last time we've seen each other? Because it's been years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Wow.
I saw you in Orlando at that show.
Was that? But I drove out to Tampa to hang out with you.
Yeah, and you did another
Remember?
podcast thing with my show partner and I.
Yeah. And we just like hung out. It was all in the same because I spent like an entire day there. But
Right.
is
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
that the last time we hung out in person?
No,
So that
right
was
after that, we went out and did a comedy show in Orlando at a bar, a place
okay.
called, like, I think of the Rebar is what I remember it being called.
Okay. So it has been that long though,
Yeah.
because that was in like the same wow, dude, it's been
Mhm.
way too freaking long.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you about this, and this is one of like there's a variety of reasons why I asked you to do this podcast. Like obviously, I'm very fascinated by your work. We both share a love of Renaissance fairs. We've been comedy buddies, and also like on a personal level. So when I saw you in Tampa, like as you know, and we don't have to go into a ton of details, but I was going through a very very rough part of my life.
Right.
Honestly, probably the worst patch of my life I've had thus far, knock on wood. And I was going through a really bad breakup. And, obviously, the details. We talked about it. And I still vividly remember you gave me like just the best assessment out of literally anybody. And I'm talking like, I mean, I talked to psychiatrists and stuff. And
Wow.
yeah, like you sat me down and you were like, okay, you're acting this way because you feel guilt for XYZ. And this is why you're behaving that way, because deep down you do still care about this person, even though you know you can't be with them. And so you're feeling guilt, and this is why you're acting that way. And this is why you're putting it all on yourself. And you need to learn that it shouldn't be all on you. And you weren't making it out like I was some, like I was some perfect person or anything like that. Like it's not like you were
Exciting.
sugarcoating. Yeah, but you were like just telling me what I needed to hear as far as like, my ex and as far as all the people around me and the direction my life was going. And you said to me, you said one day you're just going to go through pretty much an entire day and you're going to realize I haven't thought about that at all today. And you're going to know that you're healing and you're almost at the other end of all this. And I just remember like feeling like, dude, on my drive back, because I think I was staying in like somewhere near Orlando and I just drove to Tampa to hang out with you for the day. But I remember like I cried on the drive back just because of all
Wow.
the stuff you and I talked about. It was really freaking heavy. And you just like told me exactly what I needed to hear. It was very both comforting and necessary. We hugged, and I drove back and I mean, I heard that conversation in my head for a long time after. And
Wow.
when that day finally came, and it did, I mean, I thought of you first. I'm
No
like,
shit.
oh, I didn't think about this at all today, and
Wow.
and it's like, so I gotta like, why? How are you so good at that?
So
What
I,
is it?
I I remember like a little bit more detail what I said to you.
Okay.
So it's definitely like I haven't thought of that person anymore. But it's like when your life feels so out of disarray and you don't know what's going to be next for you. It's like that feeling of when like you finally get it back and you're finally like in a new apartment or in a new house and you like have a long day and you throw your bag or your briefcase or your like gym shoes or whatever the case may be and you're like on your thing on the thing that you now is a brand new floor or a brand new bed or whatever. It's like your brand new life. And like you, that is behind you now because you are home, you are safe, you are in your zone, your new zone that you've created. Like there's nothing better than that feeling, having bounced back from something detrimental like a breakup, like that is the best feeling in the world. And that is life. That is life of like climbing and climbing and climbing and crap, everything went to shit. And then you build yourself back up. And then you have that moment again where you're like, here I am. I'm back, baby. You know what I mean? And then who knows? Something might happen. Tragedy strikes again. But it's a constant like roller coaster of like, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's not awesome anymore. How do I fix it? And then you fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's that journey of fixing it that is what life is worth living for, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally, man. But
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, yeah, you really just unpacked it in a way that it was like it was very like, I'm like, man, have you been going through the past few months with me? Because you really
No,
nailed it.
I had just been there. I saw you in me. I saw where you were, you know, and that's what helped me. That thought, that like that. Oh crap! I haven't thought of this person today. You know, like
Yeah.
recognizing that pivotal moment and looking forward to that pivotal moment. You know, like that is. Yeah. I just wanted to help you.
No. I mean, hey, man, I appreciate it and so much. I mean, I really the one, and I think I told you this at the time, but and I still feel this way. Like the one really, amazing lemonade out of lemons moment during that whole thing, and I think this is a universal life experience. You really find out who your friends are, and you really find out just how great your friends are. I mean, just people who I wouldn't have expected it, who were just like, if you need anything, like tell me and stuff. And it was just, I mean, in some ways it was such a painful moment, but in other ways, just such a freaking beautiful moment because it made somebody appreciate everything just so much. And I've tried to always hold on to that, as I've gone through life, because it's there are other quote unquote breakup moments. I've been through some other ones since. We all have,
Right. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing that you've held on to that. I'm deeply touched that impacted you. That's I guess it worked.
It definitely worked. No, it definitely worked. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I will still make 1,000,005 mistakes in my life, but that's not on you. That's you definitely did your part big time. I hope I can pay it forward in some way. You know what I mean? I really hope, and maybe I have. I don't know, but it's one of those things. If I had somebody close to me going through a breakup, I would seriously, my bar would be, I hope I can help them as well as Todd helped me.
Oh my God, dude. Thank you for saying that. That's really sweet.
You're welcome.
That's
Thank
cool,
you.
man. Oh shit. I'm all getting all choked up.
So what advice would you give to somebody who wants to start a career in the Renaissance world? I mean, first they found out that it's possible. Now they're asking how to do it. What advice would you give them?
Have very low expectations of not of succeeding, but of getting everything you want right away. It is a really difficult way to live because you're constantly changing and things go wrong all the time. So, it's a delicate balance of taking care of yourself and remembering to take care of yourself and taking care of the things that you own. And also knowing that you could lose everything in any moment. I've been doing this for 12 years and I've seen people lose and gain everything in the same month.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you get something, you get a brand new trailer, your house, you're living in a house, and then you go to the next place and you flip it, or yeah, or you've been on the road, you have the whole cargo trailer full of stuff and you leave it parked in the wrong spot and that cargo trailer disappears.
Yeah.
It's everything in your life is so replaceable. So I guess to answer your question, I would say come with very little and don't have a lot of expectations, because it's very difficult and you have to be able to chameleon yourself to every situation put in front of you and I've been doing this for 12 years, like I said, and it's still that way. It hasn't gotten any easier. I've just gotten better at chameleoning myself to different scenarios. But it's still like I'm working harder than I've ever had to work in my entire life to maintain, this for my family. So it also depends on what you want to do too. Like if you want to be an entertainer, like put together something and keep trying and meet people and you probably have to do something cheapy peepy at first, but it's like constantly growing and rebuilding your stuff and upgrading. Like you start down here and you get something a little nicer and then you get something a little nicer. But there's a reason why not everybody does this for a living. There's a reason why people have stability with a 9-to-5 job and live in an apartment, live in the city, like I would recommend selling everything and starting from the ground up is what I would recommend.
Nice.
That's my advice.
So what would you say to somebody in my situation? Somebody, like I really want to do Lucian. I want it to be part of my, little creative world, but it's probably not ever going to be the exclusive part of my creative world. I have other, projects in LA, like film stuff I'm working on, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to someone like me who is, just trying to get a show in that world?
It's the same thing. I would go with very little expectation, and you might have to do some free shit for a little bit, but that's like every, job in entertainment, that's comedy, that's acting, that's like, music, that's everything. If you're good enough, it'll happen to you.
Let me ask you this, though, as somebody who has experience in the stand-up comedy world and in this Renaissance world, too, one of the things, I mean, and I still am very much a novice in this world. I've only done, as of the recording of this, I've only done one fair with Lucian. I freaking loved it so much. It was such a cool weekend, and I felt like I felt like the show was in an entirely different place at the end of that weekend.
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, I got to get more fairs. I got to keep doing this. Like I got bit by the bug, I guess. And it reminded me of the same feeling I had when I went on the road as a comic for the first time. Where it's like, I felt like a different comic after the week was over. And I'm like, I got to keep doing this. I got to keep doing this. And, so there are some parallels. But I have found in my experience so far, everybody, comparatively speaking, like I feel like in the Renaissance world, everybody was sort of like, oh, who's this guy? This is something we don't know about. That's interesting. Whereas in the stand-up world, and of course I'm generalizing, but there's a little more of like, who's this guy? Fuck him.
Yeah, get in line.
Yeah, like I feel like it was just a lot like nicer. Like it was just a lot more. Everybody in the Renaissance world seems to want to see everybody else do well. Generally, I mean, there's scumbags everywhere, and I'm sure of that. But it's like it seems like overall, generally, there really is, like you said earlier, like a community, and everybody kind of wants to lift everybody up.
Dude, remember a long time ago, I visited you in Pittsburgh when you were living there, and you brought me out to the comedy scene, and we went and did a bunch of mics and stuff. And that was my experience there. Everybody there was like, oh, you're from out of town? Let me build you up. Like every place we went, dude, and then I was with you too. So that definitely helped because you knew all those people. But like, you're talking about like that support system that's never there at any of these, but there's pockets of places in comedy that are like that.
Sure. Yeah. No, sure.
But yeah, that's what I was thinking about when you were saying that. It's like it is super supportive. They want to see people succeed. They love new stuff. If you're like a vendor selling mugs right next to a stage, and they put you in the same spot every single year, and they put the same act next to your stage every single year, you're a vendor that sells mugs. You could do that act probably better than they could. You know what I'm saying?
No,
so people are like, oh hell yeah, something new, but
okay. So that's part of it. They like new things.
Yeah, but that's kind of like rough to say. I guess I really don't 100% mean that. Like, but there's definitely like we're always like new. It's always fun when there's something new that happens and somebody's working harder on the thing that they've already done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, it's kind of like, like you mentioned the Pittsburgh comedy scene, which this was like going back. I mean, God, this was over 10 years
15 years ago or something like that, 12 years ago.
A long time ago. So the scene is probably a lot bigger now than it was back
Right.
then, because like
Right.
gotten more popular or whatever. But that's a little, I guess what I was more referring to is like, if I had to email a club booker or a Renaissance entertainment director, I'd much rather deal with the Renaissance entertainment director.
Right.
Everyone I've dealt with so far, they've looked at Lucian and they're like, oh, this is cool. No one else is doing it. And even people who were like, we don't have room for you right now, they were like, please check in next year. And I got the vibe it was like sincere. Like they genuinely would like to eventually give me a shot. They just have they just only have so many spots, whereas like in the stand-up world, it's kind of just like, yeah, can you sell tickets? No. Can you do this? Can you you want to do time at my club? Fuck off. And again, I'm generalizing. There have been some club owners out there that I'm indebted to for the rest of my life with how much they've helped me. But, like generally speaking, I just got like, like the kind of quote unquote industry side of it was a little more warm than what I was used to.
Yeah, I would say that's like the case, but there's exceptions to that,
Sure. Oh yeah, sure.
For sure.
So what do you want to leave people with? Where can people go to learn more about the food vendor and where are some of the fairs? I mean, I guess like I don't know when this is going to air exactly, but yeah, like broadly speaking, 2023, 2024, where are some of the fairs people can find you?
Let's go with 2024 for right now. So we're at the Brevard Renaissance Fair outside of Orlando. We're at the Georgia Renaissance Fair outside of Atlanta. We're at the Kentucky Renaissance Fair outside of Louisville. I say Louisville. If you're from there, people go Louisville, but I say Louisville because named after King Lowell. And then we're at the Bristol Renaissance Fair, the Southern California Renaissance Fair, and the Carolina Renaissance Fair. I think that's all. And the Sarasota Renaissance Fair. So there's 52 weekends in a year, right?
Yeah.
We are booked for 72 weekends. 2024.
So you franchise this thing already?
Yeah, we have we are in multiple places at multiple times throughout the year.
That's incredible. And you're already booked through 2024.
Right.
How far out are you booked right now?
2024 is booked.
Okay. So it's like a year in advance.
Right.
I mean, man, I have finally gotten to that point in like stand up where for the most part my year is booked by like February, you know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. And I'm on cloud 9 that I've gotten to that point. And part of the only reason I'm at that point is because I don't go on the road as much as I used to.
Our business name is Chateau Hibbeler. We're Chateau Hibbeler Kitchens. That's CH Kitchens on Instagram. My last name is pretty unique. It's pretty easy to find, but it's my last name without the R at the end.
Okay, so it's spelled Hibbele. So Chateau Hibbeler, and they can find that on like Facebook, Instagram. All right, man. Stuff. All right. Well, I look forward to sampling your wares very soon. And thanks again. Thanks again for helping get me through a breakup, man.
Man, it was great. It was great talking to you.
That was Todd Hibbeler. Chateau Hibbeler. Check it out at a Renaissance Fair near you. Man, that's really pushing me to try to get things going again with Lucian. I just need a fair to take a chance on me, Music for the 1000 podcast is provided by Andrew Saxena. Be sure to check out his podcast, the Baywatching Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I said podcast way too many times in that sentence. Leave us a 5-star review, would you? This is still a very new show. If you leave us a 5-star review, write a nice review, it really, really helps. It helps more people find this show. If you want to support the show on the sustainability end, you can do so over patreon.com/romplacone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive perks. You get the 1000 podcasts before they're released, and you get the bonus podcast between Andrew and myself, and I'll make you a theme song, and you can see my films before they're released. So all kinds of cool exclusive content, and that is for as low as $1 a month. It's a Give What You Can level. All right, number 13. We're almost to 20. We're almost to another milestone. We're getting there. See you next week. Hey guys, Ron Placone here. Take your own 1000 challenge. No, you don't need to interview 1,000 people, although if you want to do that, go for it. Your 1000 challenge can be whatever you want. Maybe you want to call a friend out of the blue once a week. Maybe you want to read a book every month. Maybe you want to start a different garden every season. I guess that might be dependent on where you live. Look, the point of the challenge is taking on an endeavor that enriches your life in some way, and it can be measured. And then, of course, you do it regularly. That's what 1000 is doing for me, and hopefully for you too. The main reason for this podcast and every podcast I've ever done is to build community. So take your own challenge. Then join our Facebook group. It's called 1000 What's Your Challenge? ? That's 1000 What's Your Challenge ? And post about what your 1000 challenge is and the progress you're making. All I ask is that people be encouraging of each other's challenges. This is personal and vulnerable, so be cool. There's enough negativity on social media. We don't need to add to it. For those of you who aren't on Facebook, hopefully in the future we'll be expanding to places like Discord, Reddit, but for now, we're starting on Facebook. And again, that Facebook group is called 1000 What's Your Challenge? See you there.